the charity Help for Heroes has launched a new campaign calling for improved support for veterans and a long-term commitment to that support from the new Conservative leader, whoever that is. In London, there are nearly 9,000 veterans receiving compensation for being wounded or unwell, a greater number than in Birmingham, Manchester, Glasgow, Edinburgh, Belfast and Cardiff combined. We spoke to David Dent, who's a campaigner. He was injured in the line of duty and receives government funding. We asked him about how important that support was to him.
When I was deployed, my role was battlefield resuscitation and treatment of injured casualties. I sustained a blast injury, so I have a brain injury as a result of that, and shrapnel in my back, and I also have some sort of spinal damage. And so the first thing I would be looking for from Mr. Johnson, Mr. Hunt, would be that leadership and commitment to do the right thing. And being able to put a Veterans Minister in the Cabinet in a position of influence where they can work with colleagues is going to be important to bring that together and have a focus on the veterans. It's being able to be a bit more joined up, not being the responsibility of, say, the MOD or the health service or, you know, social services. It's being able to bring a focus together where people aren't falling through the cracks.
That is veteran and campaigner David Dent talking to Sunday Politics London there. So do you feel that a covenant is what we need? Do we need to protect this in law, Andrew? Because what we're hearing there from a person who lives with this every day is that the sort of piecemeal approach we have at the moment isn't enough, it's not working.
Of course we do. We have a covenant, but it needs to be made in law. Jeremy Hunt and Boris Johnson have signed that pledge. And I agree entirely that in this country we have a duty to those veterans that have served our country and have fought and need our support when they leave the armed services. Now, we talk about these things, but often people fall through the cracks, and that isn't right. Other countries do better at this than we do, and I think there should be cross-party support for this Veterans Pledge. There should be a minister in the Cabinet that's directly responsible and answerable about policies towards veterans, and it needs to be enshrined in law so that all governments follow through in the future.
Meg, with your sort of public accounts hat on, is that something that you would be in favour of?
Yes, so I think you would also look at the overall issues around the costs of everything that we provide for our armed forces, and that we've seen such pressures on the defence budget, and sometimes some bad management there, to be honest, as well. We see a real challenge of skills and morale issues in our armed forces. So a lot of people aren't getting support when they're serving, let alone what happens after they've left, and particularly if they've been injured in the line of duty. So there does need to be a real overhaul of how we support our personnel, not just in the Ministry of Defence, across other public services, but in this particular instance, yes, in the Ministry of Defence. But we get the defensive line back when we criticise the department on things. They say, but our people are good, things are still running well. Yes, because people will work longer hours and put the extra effort in, but that doesn't mean that they're getting a good deal very often when they're in the armed forces. And then when something catastrophic happens, it is shameful that people have to scrabble around to try and piece together themselves the support that they need.
Well, of course, we do have a minister who is responsible for veterans' issues at the moment, Tobias Ellwood. So it's, some of that role of coordination should, in fact, be being done by him. I'm pleased that, as a party, we have signed up to the Armed Forces Covenant, and that was in our manifesto. I think a lot of the work that needs to be done around armed forces issues are often at a local authority level as well, and many local authorities, including mine, have signed up to that some years ago. But I think very often the root causes do require funding to be addressed, particularly given the level, for instance, of homelessness amongst past armed forces personnel, that if we haven't got the resources there to provide them with the facilities that they need, and of course the Armed Forces Covenant, all it actually says is that they should have access to the same level of service as everyone else, and that is a perfectly reasonable
putting it in law and
thing to try to achieve.
Yeah. Andrew, is that a fair criticism? Because whilst we have amazing services for injured servicemen when they initially come back, they're treated, you know, in the most amazing centres, the rehab. After that, and perhaps people also not with physical injuries, there is a gap, isn't there, We should be doing more for those people.
I think we'd all agree with that. There is a gap, and we've all got examples of constituents
But
who've
your
served.
government hasn't been pursuing that. It hasn't been, you know, Tobias Ellwood is a former veteran, the minister.
My government needs to do more, and that's why it's got to be cross-party. defending our country and giving us our freedom, which these people have done, they deserve the very best treatment. They deserve our respect. We've got a duty to help them and be there for them. And this should be above politics. We should all unite together and find a solution to make sure that we don't find that ex-veterans or veterans are left without the support they need.